Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this Lenovo ThinkPad P1 Gen 2. Alright, so first thing we're going to need is a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver. And we're just going to undo all these screws. I already kind of undid some of them part way. Alright, but just do that. They do stay into the cover, so don't worry about removing them. If they do come out, make sure that you put them in a way that you can put them back the way you found them. Right? If this video ends up helping you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel so that other people can find my videos. And if it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider throwing a little my way. I'll greatly appreciate it. Even $1's good. All right, thanks. And we'll go ahead and pop this thing open. So once you get all these screws out, we're most likely going to have to pull up from the back side here. So I'm going to start at the middle here. You can see this cover is kind of coming up. Alright, we're going to go over to the side. There we go, it unclips. We're going to keep going over to the other side. Same thing, and there we go. Once you unclip the whole back, you can see the whole cover just swings up like this, and then you can kind of pull it out. So you want to be careful just in case you don't drop any screws anywhere. There is a little hole in this cover that goes to this little button here. And this is kind of like a BIOS or CMOS reset. Sometimes if your computer doesn't turn on, you can press and hold this button using a little needle or a pin for about 10 to 15 seconds, and that will reset it and get it to turn back on again, assuming that it's like a temporary issue. Alright, so anyways, you can see all this dust here, so I'm going to try and just brush this up and clean it off. Okay, same thing with here. Okay, so the issue here that my customer was having is that the computer was running hot or overheating, so that's why we're doing a dust cleaning. Alright, usually I'll take this outside and then clean out the dust because I don't want all this dust in my work area, but well, we just did that already. Alright, so this side I'm actually going to take outside and clean it up. But anyways, there's two M.2 SSD slots here. I'm not sure if they both support PCIe NVMe. But this one here does appear to be a PCIe NVMe SSD. Because they have this thermal pad here, I'm going to assume it's also a PCIe NVMe. And yeah, so to remove these, I'm not going to take it out, but there's one screw, you take that out, pops up at an angle, and then you can pull this back. Again, the main thing I'm doing on here is going to be thermal paste and cleaning out the dust. I don't think this one really needs thermal paste, but the customer asked for it, so I'm going to do it anyways. Alright, got the battery here. Let's see. So they got little model numbers. Let me zoom in so you can kind of see this. Again, I'm not going to take everything out. You got also the BIOS or CMOS battery here. If you want, you can remove it. This kind of connector, you kind of just wiggle and pull it out. If you're not sure how to remove any of the connectors here, just watch a bunch of my other videos and you'll see. You got, again, the model numbers here, L17C4P72. Alright, so you got that. There's also these other model numbers that sometimes it might be. Hopefully it's clear enough that you can read it. Okay, battery connector is underneath this plastic thing here. So this battery connector is a little tricky actually. So this kind of battery connector, actually I should disconnect the battery because I'm going to be removing these heatsink. So let's actually do that. I'm going to peel this tab off and I'm going to just set it over here. Hopefully I remember to put that back. But this kind of battery connector, to remove it, you actually have to pop up the front here. So I don't know if you can look at it on the side. You can actually see there's a gap under there. Alright, so let's see if, yeah, okay. So this does look like one of those connectors. Again, so let me zoom in and see if I can show this. You're going to want to use, I just use my fingernails. You can use like a plastic pry tool, but I get under there. Okay, what I'm going to do is pry the front end up. Okay, just like that. Once you get the front end up, you can actually slide this forward. As you can see, it moves. So you slide that forward and then you can lift the whole connector out. I'm going to actually put this plastic thing here just so the battery doesn't reconnect itself. All right, and let's zoom back out. Once you do that, you're going to open up the computer and then we're going to press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds just to drain any power that's on the board so that if we were to drop something conductive across it, there's a lot less risk that you're going to end up damaging anything. Alright, so again, about 10 to 15 seconds. Usually I'll try and hold it for about 15 seconds. Okay, and then if you're wondering, there's two slots for RAM here. Okay, just like every other computer, you pull these tabs to the side, these metal tabs here. pull those to the side and it pops up and then you can pull it out. If you're wondering, the RAM is, wow, that's a 32 gig stick. So this thing has 64 gigs of RAM. It's PC42666V, all right? So that's what you want. We're gonna go ahead and put this back. I probably should have actually powered up the computer first. I always forget to do that because sometimes the computers aren't working. And then like when I get them, they might not be working. And then I should confirm that before I start working on it. So actually, let me do that real quick. Let's slide the battery connector slightly forward that way. And then get that in the slot, push it backwards. Once you get that back in, click that back down. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and put this back on top. All right, let's go ahead and power it up because I didn't check that. I should have done that first. I'll do that with the other one. I have two computers I'm working on. So this I might have to actually plug in. Oh, actually, okay, it's turning on. So sometimes you have to plug it in to turn it back on. Okay, so it looks like it's good. I don't want to show their username, so I'm gonna fold this back. I'm sure it's gonna boot up. Let's see. It's just black right now. Actually, okay, yeah, it's going to the login screen. So I don't want to show everything, but there you can see the login guy. All right, I'm going to shut down the computer again. Make sure it shuts down completely. There's no moving parts in here, so I can't hear if it's shut off. So I'm going to have to just kind of hope the lights go off. I see the power button, the light's on, it's blinking. All right, and then it's off. All right, so let's go ahead and remove the battery again and press and hold the thing again. All right, so again, pop this up just like that, slide that forward and then pull that out. Get this little piece of tape just to prevent it from reconnecting the battery. And then we're gonna open it again and hold it for 10 to 15 seconds. Sorry, I'm doing this a second time. All right, so we'll get this, drain the power out. I think it's like 2 a.m. right now, and I still got 2 more of these to go. Then I gotta wake up like at 8 a.m., so I'm not gonna get much sleep. But anyways, there we go. Okay, so wireless card. I mean, I do that on every model. You got the, I think that's the fingerprint sensor. Is there an actual fingerprint sensor right there? Yep, that's fingerprint sensor. Right, I'm not gonna lift everything else out. You got these connectors here. They don't label it. I'm guessing that's trackpad. I don't want to take the battery out to find out. You got another little connector there, got another connector there. All of these have little flip latches to take them out. Speaker connector here, it runs across there to connect both speakers together. Right, sorry if I'm going out of view of the camera. You got the fan connectors. I'm gonna have to remove both. I don't know why this fan connector is so small, and then this fan connector here is ginormous. It's kind of weird. All right, and then you got the LCD LVDS connector here. This is probably for like the camera or webcam. And the charge port is also removable. You do have to remove these metal brackets. I think you only need to remove these 2 screws to pull this metal bracket out. And the connector is right here. It's one of those that you pull that way. You kind of have to wiggle it. I work it out using my fingernails, like pulling it slowly. All right, so anyways, let's go ahead and get to the main thing. We are going to have to probably take these cables out because they are routed through the fan. All right, let's go ahead and remove the first fan connector. I'm gonna zoom in here. First fan connector, I use my fingernails like this. There aren't much like wings on this connector, but I try and just go on the edges and then you kind of just wiggle it and there you go. Pulled out, came out pretty easily. Gonna go to the other side. Same thing, you got this connector here. I'm doing it upside down now, but same thing with the wings. You kind of just wiggle it as you pull. Just keep wiggling, just keep wiggling. Don't use too much force trying to remove this. Just keep wiggling it, right? Be patient. Eventually it will pop out. Just trust me. Just keep wiggling. All right, here you can see it's slowly coming out, and there we go. All right. So you do need to use a little force, but not like don't try and yank it out really hard. All right, so we got the black cable and the gray cable. For some reason, they're not matched up with the arrows. I don't know why they do that. So I'm gonna start doing this new thing to keep it easier to remember. And I'm just gonna draw a dot on there so I know that that's the black cable. All right, and let's go ahead and pull this up. So go to the tail as close as you can, and you actually pull up on the tail itself, just like this. All right, there we go. Same thing with the black cable. All right, as close as you can to the tail, and it pops up really easily. There we go. Usually I don't like having to pull up these wireless antennas if I don't have to, because sometimes the solder job on those little connectors down there on the wireless card is bad, and it can actually rip off. I've had that happen once. It's pretty rare, but that's why I don't like taking things apart if I don't have to. Sometimes people will be like, oh, come on, just show it, but there's risk involved, and I mean, I'm not being reimbursed for the damage, so this is kind of just to show people while I'm doing the repair job. All right, we got this connector. I flipped that latch up. We're going to lift this up and pull that back. All right, so there we go. So as you can see, it's trapped under the fan. We are going to have to guide it out and then here. So there's one going down this way, the other one's going up this way, and then it goes back down here, all right? So we are going to have to take that out. Same thing with the LCD cable here. We're going to remove that as well. Sorry, I'm going out of view. We're going to flip this latch up. Make sure you're flipping the right side. All right, good. And then we're going to go ahead and lift this and pull this connector out as well. So this is a little tricky again because there's not much work area here. Let's see if I can actually pull the fan up slightly here. All right, so that I can get this connector out. So I'm holding the fan up like that with my other hand, and then I'm going to get this connector out just like that. There we go. All right, let's see. Okay, so now we're going to remove the screws for the heatsink here. Actually, I should probably clean this so that way when I blow the dust out, it's not going to end up in the heatsink area. So I'm going to use a toothbrush and basically scrub the fans, and then I'm going to use my electric blower outside to blow the air back this way because the dust will collect on the heatsink here, and that will get any dust that's collected on the heatsink back off. All right, so I'm going to do that, and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. All right, so I'm back, and now we're going to remove the heatsinks. Let's zoom out. Okay, there we go. So we're going to undo the screws here. Let's see here. Do they number them? Is this screw part of the heatsink? It doesn't look like it, but that's kind of weird. There's one on either side. We'll find out. So we got 3 for the CPU here, and then 2, I think this is the CPU and that's the GPU. So let's go ahead and remove those screws. All right. They do number them, so when you put them back, you're supposed to do them in a certain order. So there's a 3 and a 2 here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5. All right, when you remove them, it doesn't really matter because we're going to basically be cleaning off all the thermal paste, and then we're going to be reapplying it. So let's go ahead and undo all these screws. You'll know you removed it because you'll hear it click. All right, they do stay in place though. Okay, so there we go. We got all those screws out. There's a good chance this is going to be stuck down. So let's see here. Is this okay? Yeah, so those things aren't really holding it down. Here you can see it's lifting up. I have to be careful with the cables here. Okay, this side is likely going to be a little tough. You want to be careful because you don't want to damage these heat pipes. All right, so let's go ahead and lift this up slightly. So I'm just using my fingernail under here. You can use whatever you want, but you don't want to use something that can conduct electricity and risk damaging, or that can scrape this, but it's usually not too big of a deal because we're just dealing with the fan. So let's go ahead and get these wireless antennas and everything out of here. Okay, get that, and then again we have to lift it slightly up over this raised part and then go back under is okay. Okay, it looks like they actually have more of this heatsink over here as well, so we have to go completely over. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the other side, just unroute the cabling. All right, so I have to use this finger because I completely ripped that fingernail off. Again, some people tell me to cut my fingernails, but I use them a lot. It makes my life so much more difficult when my fingernails are cut. So there we go, got that. Alright, as you can see, this side's out, so I'm kind of wiggling this. As you wiggle it, it releases the thermal paste here. Now these most likely have thermal pads, so those we kind of just have to be careful with. Alright, I'm going to try and lift from this side. Okay, just getting underneath the metal there, and there we go. So we got this up, as you can see. Alright, I'm going to flip this over. Here you can see the thermal pads. Some of them stayed on, some of them came off. We're just going to clean off the paste, and then we'll leave the thermal pads there. So yeah, alright. The way I clean the thermal paste off, I don't know if I can really show this in camera. I can show on the heatsink side, but on this side I actually have to hold it over a garbage can so that it doesn't get all this junk everywhere. So I'll show you with the thermal, with the other side. Let me move this out of the way. Okay. Alright, so what I do, okay, oops, I should probably put these somewhere else. I guess I'll just have a paper towel there, okay, because my trash can actually has some broken parts in it that I put there. Alright, so I'm going to use paper towel just to catch the junk that falls off. Alright, so I just tore a piece of paper towel here, and basically what you do, let me get this out, alright, is you want to hold this out of the way, and then you just use the paper towel to kind of rub off the gunk there, alright, just like that. Okay, a lot of times if the thermal paste is really bad, it's going to be dried on really strong on there, and you're going to have to use, well, we're going to use that anyways, but usually I'll try and get off as much of the paste as I can before I use the isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Okay, so first we're going to do that. Okay, so you can see it's a lot cleaner. Okay, just get out as much as you can. It doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but if you can, then it's a good idea. You can try and get as much as possible. Alright, next we're going to get some isopropyl alcohol. This is 91%. You can use like 100% or whatever you got, 71%. Alright, we're going to open that up. We're going to just pour some on the paper towel. Okay, and now that we got that on there, you want to be careful again not to bend this, and then you just wipe it. Alright, just like that. You don't want to bend the heat sink, so just be careful not to put too much pressure. I'm going to do this on both sides. Alright, again, this is just to get the old paste off. Here you can see it also helps remove some of the oxidation on the copper. Alright, so here you can see it's like that. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over so that it's on a clean side. There's still the isopropyl rubbing alcohol in there. We're going to clean that up some more. Okay, same with the other side, and then just dry it up. Alright, there we go. So this one's actually not too bad. We are going to replace the thermal paste with some better paste. I'm going to use Icy Diamond, and again I'm going to have to do this off the screen, or I guess let me try and do it over the paper towel here. But usually what I do is I have to hold it upside down like this. So here's one thing you want to be careful. The speaker actually just fell out by itself. So it has these little rubber washer thingies. Let me see here. I might have to put some kind of tape or something to hold this in place. So I'm going to get some tape here. I'm just going to tape this around here. Right, I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Got these like old pieces of tape that I just use. Okay, so there we go. That should hopefully hold the speakers in place. Again, I'm going to have to hold this upside down. So yeah, I don't think you're going to see much. So I'm going to actually just pause the video here, clean it up, and I'll be back. Alright, so here we go. As you can see, it's a lot cleaner now. Okay, I'm going to actually take these pieces of tape out. You don't need to hold the speakers down. You want to be careful not to lift the speakers out and damage them. Okay, just get the tape out of the way. Put the speakers in place. There we go. Alright, So next thing we're going to do, again, just like the heatsink, we're going to use some rubbing alcohol. All right, and clean that off. All right. If you still have, especially in this area, if you have some thermal paste stuck there, you can actually use the toothbrush and kind of just scrub them up. All right. And that should break up the little pieces. I already did this earlier, so I don't really need to do that. All right, so now we're gonna get a little more rubbing alcohol here. Okay, and then we're just gonna clean these up. Just like that. Then we're gonna use the dry part just to dry it up. There we go. I have this little air blower that I use to get the dust and stuff off. There we go. All right, so next thing we're going to do is apply the new thermal paste, okay? So I'm gonna zoom in so you can actually see that better. Okay, it might be a little bit difficult to tell how much thermal paste to apply. I use Icy Diamond. You can use whatever kind of paste that you think works well. I like Icy Diamond because it's good at conducting heat, and it's non-conductive to electricity, so if you get it on components, you're not going to have any issues. All right, so what we're going to do here, we're going to put basically like a grain of rice here, all right, just going across like that, maybe a little bit longer, like a long grain of rice. All right, so it might look like you're not putting that much, but don't worry about it, because when you put the heatsink down, it actually spreads the paste super thin, and that's actually will spread it to where it actually reaches the entire length, right? I mean, might need a tiny bit more here. There we go. All right, and we're just gonna kind of spread it just like this. And the reason I leave it as a mound, I mean, everybody has their preferred method, but I found this works best. So what happens when you spread it like this and you keep it as like a mound, kind of like a longer grain of rice or whatever you would call that. I don't know, it's longer than a long grain of rice, I guess. But basically what happens, because it's all mounded up towards the middle, the pressure will squeeze out the paste and it'll make a nice even layer of thermal paste. If you were to like spread it out, usually what happens is it leaves little bubbles everywhere, because the little creases in the paste will actually form like air pocket gaps. And also when you spread it thin, if you spread it too thin, I had one customer that brought their computer where on their desktop, and the paste was actually so thin that they spread it that it was actually not really making good contact. They kind of spread it too much. All right, so we're gonna leave it like that. There's like the residue there, but it's okay because it will get pushed out. All right, and then here we're just gonna put like a dot, like a ball. I don't know what you would say, how big this is. It's not a pea sized, but yeah, it's, I don't know what you would compare it to, but there you go. You just make like a little circle ball like this. Okay, might need more on that as well. But you don't want to put too much, because if you do, it will just all squeeze out over the sides, and depending what kind of paste you have, you can actually damage your computer if it gets into these little areas of the chip. Okay, so just like that, you want to try and make sure to get it as centered as possible. All right, that looks good. So there we go. I'm going to close this up, and we're going to go ahead and put this thing back together. So we'll get the fans, we'll flip this over. Okay, the tricky part is we're going to have to route these cables back in as well. So you want to be careful with that, all right? So we're going to get this cable, put that, oops, sorry, I need to zoom back out. Again, the tricky part is getting all these cables lined up while you're doing this. So I got this, put that over there. I'm going to get that underneath. All right, I'm going to try and tuck this in and plug it in. Okay, get this connector plugged in. All right, this is a little bit tricky. So you want to make sure it's in right, because once you put that back down, you're not going to be able to pull this back up. All right, get that good. Put that latch back over. There we go. All right, we're going to go to the other side. Get all these cables. Right, you want to slowly lower it as you're doing this so you don't end up getting it all caught. All right, get this over, get that over, get this cable, put that over. All right, just like that. Over and under, over and under, over and under. There we go. Make sure you get that latch up. Get this into place. There we go. And latch that down. The wireless antennas we could always do after. Okay, so now we drop that. Let's zoom in again. And again, now we're going to do it based on the numbers. So we're going to start with number 1 over here. I like to twist it backwards until you hear it click. Let's see here. There you go. Like that. Okay. Oops, is it lined up? There you go. Hear the click, and then I'll go 1, 2. Okay. Then we're going to go on to number 2. Same thing. 1, 2. Go to number 3. 1, 2. All right. Go to number 4. 1, 2. Go to number 5. 1, 2. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2. Here. 1, 2. Over here. 1, 2. Over here. 1, 2. Over here. 1, 2. All right. And just repeat. 1, 2. Now it's completely tightened, so tighten it all the way. Then we're going to go to this one, tighten that all the way. I'm going to go to this one, tighten that all the way. Right? And the reason I do that is so it evenly applies pressure as it goes down to spread the paste evenly. All right, there we go. All right, everything looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and plug everything in. So we got the fan connector here. Get that all lined up. Okay. That's a little bit tricky. Let me see if I can rotate it so it's easier for me to see. Okay. There we go. And then you pinch the two together just like this. Get it connected. Oop, did it go in? Oh, it didn't go in right. There we go. Pinch the two together just like that, because if you push it one way, sometimes the solder job's not good here and it will rip that connector off the board. All right, we're going to flip this around again. Same thing with this one. Get that lined up. Make sure it's all lined up before you get to it, and then pinch the two layers together. There we go. And yep. All right. You want to make sure this line looks good, looks even. Oops, sorry. This line here looks good. All right, if you want, you can go ahead and open it up and then double check, but looks good. You'll see the wings past this little black raised area, so that's how you know it's good. All right, flip that back down, make sure it's pressed all the way. All right, and last one, we're going to put back these wireless antennas. Okay, we already did this one. So wireless antennas, grab that, get it all lined up. You know you got it lined up because if you rub your finger over the top, it doesn't move around, all right? And then you can go ahead and flatten it out and press it down. Okay, same thing with the other one. If you want, you can clean off that little dot that we drew on it. Just use the rubbing alcohol, okay? So there we go, got that lined up, and push it down. So again, if you really want, if you don't want to leave any of the marks you added on there, get a little rubbing alcohol, okay? Just like that, and then you just wipe that thing off, and it comes out super easy, just like that. You can see on the paper towel it made that blue dot. Okay, there we go. And let's see, make sure you got everything plugged back in. Let's zoom out. Okay, everything looks good. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and plug the battery back in and then power it back up. So we'll move this tape out of the way. Again, slide this over, okay, and then slide it back. Let me see if I can zoom in to make this easier to see. Again, the connector will be out like this, all right? So when you put it back, you want it slightly over that way, slide it backwards. Then once you got all of that lined up, sorry, it's wiggling around a lot, then just click it down into place, just like this. Oops, make sure you did slide it back enough. And then push this down. Why is it not going in? Make sure you got it in properly. You don't want to force it and then damage this. All right. Slide that back and then click that in and click this one in. There we go. All right, got them both into place. We'll get this plastic piece back. All right. And we'll just put that back over the top. There we go. Now let's zoom out. We're going to test it by powering it on. Make sure you got all the connectors back in that you removed. Open this up. Push the power button. Right. Okay, and the keyboard lit up. It did take a while, so don't panic. It does take a while. And there we go. So you can see it's working. Wait for this to finish booting up. All right. And there we go. So you can see it's July 3rd now, 2:02 a.m. All right, anyways, we're going to shut this down. So this thing actually is touchscreen, so that connector that I thought was for the webcam was likely for the touchscreen as well. But yeah. All right, so we're going to let that shut down. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this back together. So to put it back together, you basically do the reverse of how you took it out. You're going to put the bottom in first like this, okay? Because it has all these little latches that kind of lock in down here. Okay, slide that in and then slowly let this down. We're going to go ahead and put this screw back in first, okay? Just to make sure the bottom stays and doesn't come out. There we go. Make sure everything looks good. You can go ahead and clip this all back down. Okay, you're likely going to have to put the screws back for it to stay clipped down on the corners. But let's go ahead and tighten all these screws. Alright, but that's pretty much all there is to this. So hopefully this video helped you guys again. If it did, like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to do this. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider throwing a little my way. Every little bit helps, even $1. Alright, I'm going to do that. Again, make sure everything's clipped down. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Welcome to stay while I put the last screw. Alright, that's it. Let's drop this. Bye.